Now he was looking at 90,000 Romans approaching, thinking to himself, almost certainly, here's my chance. This is the battle that made. Had this battle not happened, he would have been audibly promoted. This is the battle that has fascinated military theorists ever since. As a matter of fact, obsessed might be a better word. And the reason it obsesses generals all throughout history. I mean, the whole strategy of the First World War, the German Schlieffen Plan, is thought to have been based on this. And the number of battles that can be called, from Frederick the Great to Napoleon, general after general, Caesar, Cannae is the masterstroke. It's a battle that, by the way, if you believe guys like Clausewitz, is impossible. He said that concentric activity is not appropriate for the weaker side, meaning weaker armies do not surround larger armies. It's impossible. This is exactly what Hannibal's doing. Surrounding and destroying an army that was twice the size. The way he did it was a tactical form of judo, using the enemy's strength and turning it against him. The way he did it was not. He put his weakest, most unreliable troops in the middle of the battle line, the Carthaginian battle. What's more, he pushed them out ahead of the battle line, made it sort of look like a crescent moon facing out. So you had a straight battle line, and then all of a sudden when you get to the middle, you have this crescent facing ahead, and then you get back to a standard battle. In that crescent, he put his Spanish troops intermixed with his Gallic Celtic troops. Alongside them on the flanks, he put his good African infantry, his best heavy standard troops, who had been rearmed, by the way, with the shields and the armor of all the dead Romans that Hannibal had been wiping out left and right. There was another weird trick played games with the minds of the Romans once this battle broke out, and that is seeing a lot of Romans on the other side. Now, on the flanks of these Africans was the superior Carthaginian cavalry. The Numidians on one side, the heavy Spanish and Celtic cavalry on the other. They had a crucial part to play in this battle. Now, Hannibal and his brother Mago stationed themselves in the middle, the weakest part, the part composed of Celtic allies and Spanish troops. This was very important because there was no way these troops in the middle were supposed to be able to stand for the Roman counter. They couldn't. It wasn't their normal nature to face what they were about to face. Hannibal and Mago being right there in the thick of it was a way of telling these troops that their job was not to die. You aren't cannon fodder. The fact that I'm standing here with you proves it. I guarantee we will be saved. Don't run away. If you die, I die, after all. Now, what happened when the battle broke out was that this giant battering ram of compressed Roman infantry advanced, made contact with this center where these Celts and Spanish were, and began to push it backwards. Turn that crescent inside out. But that turned the crescent into a bag. Hannibal and Mago and the Spanish and the Gauls gave ground only grudgingly, slowly backing up, and the Romans began to push themselves into a place where the African infantry that were on either side at the beginning of the battle were on the edges now of the Roman formation, and every little time that they gain a victory and push the Celts and the Spanish back more, they would be advancing deeper into the Romans' back. Now this happened after the cavalry battles on the wings. What was going on the wings was pretty predictable. The same pattern that had taken place in most of Hannibal's battles took place again. The superior Carthaginian cavalry drove the Romans from the field on one side, where Hasdrubal was. Not Hannibal's brother, by the way. This is another Hasdrubal, just another one. And then he took his cavalry all the way around to the other flank and helped the Numidians out and destroyed the Roman allied cavalry, or more Roman cavalry. And then both that cavalry turned around and attacked the flanks and rear of the Roman infantry. What's more, at the crucial time, the African infantry on the two wings of this bag that the Roman advance into the reversed crescent had made turned around and attacked the Romans from the flanks. All of a sudden, 85,000, 90,000 guys are completely encircled. I've sometimes tried to imagine where the worst place to be in the world at any given time was... This is a weird game to play, I know, but if you think about it, with the way my twisted Martian brain does, and sort of do a top 10 list of places you would not want to be in history on a single given day, on your top 10 list is going to be somewhere in the Roman lines in August 216, after the encirclement is complete, at Cannae. First of all, what's happening? Victor Davis Hanson wrote a wonderful piece once where he talked about what it must have been like to be one of those Roman troops. And the experience is something like this. Remember, this is an experience you yourself could easily be involved in. You could just be the son of a farmer, hauled up into the Roman legions, and find yourself completely surrounded all of a sudden on one bad day in a hot, windy place with the dust blowing in your face. One historian saying you probably couldn't even see anything on the Roman side the day of that battle with the dust all blowing in your face. It's hot, it's claustrophobic, you can't see anything if you're in, behind the first couple of ranks in this formation. The men in front of you are going to have tall crested helms, they're going to be using their shields to ward off missiles. All you can probably see is the ground around you. Hanson says your first sign of problems is going to be when the forward momentum stops, which would happen once the cavalry attack the Roman rear. When you attack the rear of a formation like this, the rear troops turn around to defend themselves, and all of a sudden the formation just stops. The pressure and the relentless momentum of the forward move stops. Then Hanson points out that this is when the fright starts, Phobos ruling the battlefield. That's when the people individually start to remember, my goodness, remember what happened at Lake Trasimene? Remember what happened at the Trebia? Remember that this guy is a exceedingly gifted general? Why aren't we moving forward? Now, for visualization purposes, you have to imagine you have this circle of people, the Roman infantry, completely surrounded by a smaller force. The number of Romans is equivalent to a large modern stadium full of people. It's larger than almost any of the cities in Italy at the time, or larger than this one. You figure 80,000 or so people in this ring of soon-to-be death is an astonishingly large number of folks to be surrounded. And the people in the middle can hardly lift their arms. They've got missiles now coming in from all sides. The ancient writers say they can hardly miss this giant mass of people. The wind supposedly still blowing dust in their faces. They can hardly see. If you're trying to imagine what it's like in the ranks, just imagine being able to see a foot or two in front of you, all sorts of chaos around you, rumors in your head of what's about to happen or what is happening, unbelievable noise, and panic. That's the main thing in ancient battle. Trying to get the other side to run away. Here's the thing, what do you do if you're surrounded and can't run away? Well, at some point in the battle, the Romans realized that they weren't getting out. And all sorts of heroic things are supposed to have taken place as part of this. And one thing is, the chroniclers say that the Roman cavalry, which actually stood a chance of breaking out and getting away, they were the only ones who could, riders, that they dismounted. And supposedly the Romans saw this immediately at the battle. The reason the cavalry dismounted was they decided to sell their lives to the people who died. They stood just all the track. It's almost like one of those moments where the Titanic is sinking and everyone who's left on board knows that they're going down. Well, that's what it was like in the Roman situation. The Romans knew that this was probably the end, and all sorts of things took place that make you wonder what it was like dealing with their situation. Because remember, just because they knew they probably weren't getting home alive didn't mean that this was coming, right now. This killing was going to have to be done by hand. Hannibal's army could not bomb this massive man into extinction or shoot bullets at them from a distance. The actual taking advantage of the surrounding of the Roman army had to be done by hand. And it was brutal business, and it was dangerous business. A lot of Carthaginians were going to lose their lives winning this battle that most of us today, reading about it, assume was already won. Once the Romans are surrounded, we pretty much in our heads figure, okay, well, deal done. And we forget that there's a ton of actual killing involved before this victory is handled. Victor Davis Hanson tries to find an analogy to how many people would be killed around this ring of death. He says it's 100 deaths a minute.